Elias Marchant had not returned to the town of Graver's Hollow in nearly 2 decades. It sat cradled in the crook of the mountains like a thing forgotten, its air permanently damp, thick with loam and moss, the buildings leaning under the weight of age and memory. When he arrived, the clouds pressed low, as if the sky itself were grieving the death of his estranged uncle, Ambrose Marchant, whose decrepit mansion now passed to Elias. Elias was a literature professor, the kind of man who lived in books more than life, his fingers ink-stained and his heart barricaded behind dusty volumes. He had no family left but Ambrose, and even then, only through blood. They'd never spoken beyond a few terse holiday cards. He should have sold the place. But something in the letter Ambrose left behind pulled at him. It was not written in the careful hand of a dying man, but frantic, slashing lines. "Do not enter the cellar. Burn the bell. If you hear it ring, it is already too late." A bell. What bell? There had been no mention of one in the lawyer's briefing. He moved in by October's end. The house itself was a withering Gothic creature. Turrets and widow's walks, rooms wallpapered in fading damask, and a persistent draft that whispered through every crack. The cellar door was padlocked with rusted chains. Of course, Elias's curiosity got the better of him by the third night. The lock was too corroded to resist a solid crowbar. The smell hit him first. A graveyard stench of wet stone, old rot, and something sweet beneath it, like decaying flowers. The cellar was far deeper than it had any right to be. He descended narrow stone steps into darkness, the only light a flickering storm lantern. At the base, the walls were carved with symbols he didn't recognize. Spirals nested within spirals, jagged glyphs that squirmed when he looked at them too long. And there, sitting on a crumbling stone pedestal, was the bell. It was small, no larger than his palm, made of tarnished bronze. Strange letters wound around it. No clapper inside. Silent. He touched it. Something shifted in the air. A pulling, a weight behind his eyes, like something waking up deep in the marrow of his skull. That night, he dreamed of teeth. The bell didn't ring, not audibly, but Elias began to hear it all the same. A faint, thrumming pulse that came not through his ears, but through his bones. A vibration in his spine, a pressure behind his teeth. He would wake at 3:17 a.m. every night to the sensation of something standing just beyond his bedroom door. Always silent, always waiting. He tried to write, to lecture via video calls, but the words turned sour in his mouth. His students complained of erratic behavior, long silences. His eyes, they said, looked too wide, too unblinking. One called him a hollow man. He stopped logging in. His dreams grew worse. The teeth returned, gnashing, spiraling, grinding together like millstones. Sometimes he saw Ambrose's face, pulled too tight over his skull, lips moving without sound, and always, always the bell. He found himself walking the halls at night, speaking to no one, chanting in languages he did not know. It wasn't just dreams. He began to see it, first in the corner of his eyes, then in reflections. A shape, taller than any man, with too many limbs, its skin shifting like a slick oil spill. Its eyes were pinprick voids, and where its mouth should be, a jagged ring of teeth curled inward as though ready to consume itself. It stood behind him in the bathroom mirror. It watched him from the dark corners of the library. It never moved, but it was always closer the next time he saw it. He finally tried to destroy the bell. He took it to the fireplace, doused it in lighter fluid, and set it ablaze. It did not burn. He struck it with a hammer. The sound that emerged was not metal on metal. It was laughter, wet and low and bubbling. He vomited for hours afterward, black bile slick with tiny white teeth. In the attic, he found Ambrose's journals. dozens of them, stretching back years. Most were unreadable, either mold-eaten or scratched in the same spiraling glyphs. But one journal, bound in cracked red leather, was written in English. The bell is not an object, it is a mouth. It rings not to call, but to feed. It is the voice of Halquinth, the eater between. It came through the well beneath this house. The stones whisper its name. The bell was the seal. I made it a prison, but the longer one listens, the more it sings. I made a mistake. The bell is part of me now, part of whoever hears it. If you're reading this, Elias, I am already inside you. Elias screamed until his throat tore. He boarded the cellar shut with iron nails and salt, drew symbols and chalk around his bed. But the bell rang louder now, always behind the walls, beneath the floors. He couldn't eat, could barely drink. His skin grew grey, his hair brittle. Flies gathered wherever he slept, and he began to change. He spoke in voices not his own, deep, guttural things that echoed in empty rooms. His eyes darkened at the edges. His shadow moved out of sync. He wrote names in blood on the walls, names he did not know. He remembered things he never lived. A black sea with a bell tower rising from the depths, a mass of limbs writhing in the void. Halquinth. It fed on identity, devoured thought. It did not possess, it consumed. On the last day, the town sheriff found the Marchant house abandoned. Elias was gone. In the cellar there was no bell, just a hollow socket in the stone, wet and glistening. On the walls, carved deep in the stone, a message. He is the mouth. I am the echo. Elias was never found, but sometimes on windless nights, the people of Graver's Hollow wake at 3:17 a.m. to a faint, bone-deep ringing. And the taste of copper on their tongues.